So
congratulations.
No, this actually, this is why I don't use it. Yeah, you just leave it there. And
Do you need me anymore?
I'm gonna go supervise kids.
That's what you take me out to dinner.
Happy anniversary.
Thanks.
Well, so that actually is a good lead into what I was going to say about when Elena asked me to speak. I actually was very humbled by that because I was coming to the end of, well, supposedly the end of our school year thinking this was not our best year. We had a lot of adjustments to go through, and I was starting to get ready to do this talk, and I thought, oh, I'll bring some of our stuff from Seton. Walked out of the house without anything. So my husband texted me and said, do you need anything? And I was like, yes. So I just want to say that it's, to go into it, like you were saying, you think you have to have everything perfect. And I remember the first Arch meeting that I went to, because we always knew we wanted to homeschool. My husband's very, very smart. He was very bored in school. He graduated with a C average because he refused to do his homework because it felt like a huge waste of time for him because he already knew the material. He'd get 100% on the exams and graduated with a C average. So he said he didn't want to put our kids through that. And so he had always said he was interested in homeschooling. And so we kind of knew from the beginning, before we even had children, that we wanted to have our kids at home. And so when we first were getting ready to start homeschooling, our oldest daughter, was 4.5 years old, and I was thinking, I've got to get on this. Kindergarten is coming up in the fall. What do I do? How do I do it? Where do I go? And I was talking to a good friend of mine, and she said, oh, you should come to an Arch meeting. And she had already been homeschooling for a little while. Her kids were just a couple of years older than our oldest. And we had a new baby at that time. Our first two kids are 4 years apart. And so I went to this Arch meeting, and it was kind of funny because I knew about half of the people that were there because they had grown up with my husband. So that was kind of funny to walk into that. But I was very, very nervous. What do I do? Do I get a package curriculum? Do I pick and choose my own things? And I had thought that I was going to have to, call the homeschool whatever and say, send me all of my books. I didn't realize what a huge choice was out there. And I think one of the things with that is it's kind of a blessing to have so many resources, but it's also a curse, if you want to quote Monk, a blessing and a curse, because it can really be overwhelming because you really want to do the best for your kids. And one of the reasons that we wanted to homeschool was we felt, as you see with all of your own children, how different they are, that nobody knows your children the way you do. Nobody loves your children the way you do. So you're of course going to want to do the best for them. But in that, it's hard to decide what is best for them. So we tried a few things in the beginning. Some of it worked, some of it didn't for us. And what was I going to say? Oh, we actually had to learn and adapt with our kids because for our oldest daughter, the one reading program we used did not work for her at all. And so, of course, I'm a few months into the school year and I'm thinking, what have I done? I've failed already and she's only in kindergarten. And so, but that's where our homeschooling group really came in handy because at the time, there was a list of all the curriculums everybody was using or had used. So I called a friend and I said, I noticed that you used this and you also used this, and what should I do? And so we ended up switching halfway through the year, and that worked out fine. So, fast forward a few years, we kind of were picking and choosing all this time, and by the time our oldest daughter got into 6th grade, I was kind of starting to panic just a little bit because we had so many little ones, and I was afraid I wasn't giving her everything that she needed. What's going to happen if she gets into junior high, and what if she wants to go to high school, and very much a what if kind of person. So we explored the idea of going with a package curriculum. We looked into several, Colby and Mother of Divine Grace and Seton, and we actually ended up settling with Seton. Not settling with Seton, that's a kind of bad term. But when I looked at it and talked to other people who had used it, and she's starting to approach junior high, people I knew who used it couldn't say enough good things about the foundation that it gave the kids for writing. And our oldest daughter loved to read and loved to write, so I thought, well, this might be a good approach for us. And what I want to say as far as choosing a packaged curriculum is really a personal choice. I mean, I can promote Seton for all it's worth, but it is a lot of work, but it's also not a lot of work because it's laid out for you, which is, I did want to show you, not to intimidate you, but just to show you how I did it, because this is basically what they send you. They send you all of your lesson plans, all of your tests. This is the unorganized way of doing it, because I have an answer key in here. I have her tests that she's doing at the end of the year. She does them, puts them in the front of the binder for me so I can upload them, because in 3rd grade she doesn't do a lot online. They don't have that set up yet. But I just use tabbed folder, separators to kind of separate everything. And you can kind of work through that, the way that it works best for you, but I kind of liked having it all in one spot. And one of the things that did was I could say to our kids, they could work through their lessons in the order that they liked to, because it'll say in there, week 1, day 3, this is what you do. And I have gone through a couple of different ways. Sometimes I've gone through the lesson plans that they send me and I've crossed stuff out, or I've highlighted something that I really want them to do. And I've also gone online to their website where you can pull the lesson plans up online and you can delete stuff and then print them out. So I've done a little bit of both of those, especially when we get to the end of the year. And I'm thinking, we don't really need to do this. We can do it over the summer, or it's not, anything that we really need to focus on right now. So, so when Melina was getting into 6th grade, I really was feeling kind of overwhelmed with the whole idea of homeschooling. And I felt personally I needed more structure. I needed not necessarily somebody to be accountable for or to, but to have somebody kind of do it for me a little bit. And I didn't want to have to think that hard. So that first year was very intimidating. It was good to have other people who have used Seton, because we got, again, like 2 months into the school year, or 2 weeks into the school year rather, and I thought, I'm already behind. I'm looking at all these lesson plans going, we haven't done any of this. And I called this one friend and I said, what do I do? I'm already behind. And my husband was trying to calm me down, and he was just like, it's okay, it's a new thing, And this friend of mine said, you are only behind if you feel you're behind. She said, they are not going to call you and say, hello, it's February, you haven't submitted whatever. So that was, quite a relief. And talking to her and figuring out some of what she did to help her get through the lesson plans really helped. So one thing I do really, really like about Seton is that you can submit things online. And if it's a multiple choice test, true and false, those sorts of things are computer graded, and the kids get their scores back instantly, which was really nice for them. This year, one thing that they started for some of the older kids that my son really enjoyed, he's in 7th grade, is they have their spelling tests. The quarterfinals are online, and usually the mom would have to dictate the words, or sometimes our other older kids would do that for us. Well, now they have an audio set up, and there's one of the teachers from Seton actually gives the words, and you can replay that word as many times as you can. And the first time he found that, we thought, oh, this is great, because I can just say, go take your spelling test, and then he can do that on his own. Well, I was in the kitchen, and he got through the test, and I hear everybody giggling, and I hear this really deep sound coming from the dining room. And I walked in, and here he had gone and he had clicked on every word as fast as he could, and the teacher was saying all of the words all at the same time. So he had everybody in a fit of giggles. But one thing about that too is, talking about having your kids help each other and the bonds that go together and making some really good memories. I just share one really quick story with you about spelling. Our son